Hello guys, welcome to the next session of developing e-commerce application from scratch using Angular and Spring Boot. In the last session we discussed on how we can upload the images in Angular to the Spring Boot API. So in the last session we developed this button, that is a choose files button. So let me just quickly show you what we have implemented in the last session and what are we going to implement in this session. So let me just put some details like this, and alongside let me just choose a file as well, and let me just choose this particular image, and then as soon as I will click on the add product, my both of these details and image will get saved into a database. But before that, make sure I just started my backend application. So my backend application is already started, so it is up and running. So let me just click on add product, and now if I just go to the MySQL database, so if I just go to the product DB product table, so in this if you see like this third product, this is the product that we just added. So for this third product ID, if we just go to the image model, also you will be able to see these two different images. And if you just go to this product images table, then inside this if you see that for product number 3 we have the image 4 as well. So it is also maintaining the relationship between the product and image table as well. So everything is working perfectly fine. The next step that we are going to do is we are going to show some preview in this below area, so that whatever image is chosen, the preview will be shown into this below area. So we are going to implement that change in this session. So to first of all let's try to understand how we are going to show these. So to show these, we are going to use again Angular material UI component. So if I just go to this Angular material official website, then if I just go to the components, then we have one component that is called as a this grid list component. So if you see like we have the basic grid list, and this basic grid list we are going to use so that we can show our preview in this kind of a structural manner. So we are going to show the preview in this structured manner. So we have to use this, but again we can't use it directly. We have to first of all use its API. So let me just go to this API section. Over here you will see one line which is a import line. So let me just copy that line, and let me just come back to my VS Code, and let me just open one file, that is app.module.ts file. Inside this let me add this import line, and also we have to import a same into the imports array. So let me just use imports array. So we have to just let me just copy this name, mat grid list module, and then let me just paste it over here like this. And now let me just save this code. Now once module is imported, then the next thing that we have to do is we have to add a code into a HTML. So now if you just go to this overview, and if you just want to look to the code, then you can just click on this view code button, and that code will be visible. So code is really very simple, and we can just copy and paste that code as well. But as of now I'm not going to copy paste the code because I know some of the codes. So I will just write it down by myself, and maybe I'll just explain you this code as well. So let me just go to the add product component. Inside this add new product component, we have one file, that is add a new product.component.html. Now in the last session we have added this particular input type is equals to file. This particular button in the last session we have added. Now the next thing that I'm just going to do is I'm just going to create one division, and this particular input button I'm going to put it inside my division. And after that I'm just going to create one more division so that we can add our grid list in this below division. So for this second division, let me just add one class, that is empty5, which is a margin top 5. Inside this I'm just going to add one more division, and I'm just going to add a class to this division that is called as a row. like this. So all these classes like empty5 and row, all the bootstrap classes. So to style it out, we are going to use a bootstrap, but from components perspective, we are going to use a Angular material. Now inside these, you can just type type the code, or you can maybe just copy paste it from the Angular's official website. But first of all, the very first tag that we have to use is mat grid list, like this. So this mat grid list basically takes some arguments. So the very first argument is calls. So call is nothing but number of columns. So I'm just going to use a 4 columns. So as of now, if you see, like we have the 2 columns. So that's the reason we have the calls is equals to 2. So this first and this second is a 2 different columns. So similar way, I'm just going to use a 4 columns. Alongside, it also takes one more attribute that is called as a row height, and that row height is nothing but a ratio of height and width. So maybe I will just show you on the UI directly instead of explaining over here. So row height, I'm just going to keep it as a 1:1. The next thing is inside this mat grid list, what we have to do is we have to use a mat grid tile. So let me just use mat grid tile, like this. This mat grid tile we have to use multiple times. So we have to show multiple image previews, right? So it might be a 4 images, it might be a 5 images. So that's the reason we have to use a ng4 as well. So we have to use a ng4 for this mat tile. So let me just use star ng4 is equals to, and then over here let me just use let file of product dot product images. So I will just quickly explain like how I am taking this product and product images, but let me just type it as of now. So over here, if you just go to this ts file, then previously we have created one object of product. So if you see this product, and inside this product object, whatever images we will upload or we will choose, all these images will be saved into this product images array. So that's the reason I'm just using this product dot product images. So object is already created, we are just iterating that object on our UI side. So that's the reason we have just created this. Now once we used a for loop, the next thing that we have to do is we have to just give one more division. So let me just give one more division, and let me just apply some style as well. Maybe you can just create a class, but as of now I'm just applying some style, that position is equals to relative, like this. And then let me just take a look. Let me just remove this semicolon, and let me just save this code as well. Now once we applied a style, the next thing that we have to do is we have to use image src tag. So let me just use image src will be the binding. So src will be the binding. So to what we are going to bind this src, we are going to bind this file. So let me just copy this file dot url. So again, let me just quickly explain you why we are just using this dot url. So if you just go to this TypeScript file, then if you see, the product image is nothing but a array. So it is array of, if you just open the product interface, so if you see, like it is array of a file handle, and again file handle we have previously created. So file handle again contains the file itself, and it again contains the URL itself. So this is particular URL that we are going to use on our HTML file. So that's the reason we have just used file.url. Let me just remove this alternative text. I don't want it as of now. And then let me just quickly give width as well. So width will be 100 pixel and height will be 100 pixel, like this. And now let me just save these changes. So let me see first of all what is happening on my UI and how my UI is currently looking like. So let me just use npm run start again, and let's see whether we are able to see any preview or not. So let me just give a moment so that it will compile successfully. So as of now we have added a new module, so that's the reason it might take some time, but for me it is pretty quick. So let me just go back to the Google Chrome and let me just refresh this app. Let me just try to choose some file like this, and if you see, yes, we are able to see this preview on our UI. And let me just choose one more file like this and see, yes, we are able to again see the preview as well for the second images. So in a one column it will store 4 images because we have used a columns is equals to 4 value, and as soon as we will add the fifth image, it will push that image into the next column. But as of now it is not pushing that to a next column, so that's the reason. That is because, yeah, now it is added. So yeah, that was by mistakenly I just done something else might be. So if you just choose, yes, so if you just choose the image after the 4, then after the 4 it will push it to the next line. But if you see, as of now it is not looking quite good, and we have to apply some styles as well. And along with the styles we have to give one remove button as well, because let's suppose if I don't want to upload this image by seeing the preview, then I should be able to remove this image as well. So we have to give some remove button over here. So let's do one by one. So let's first of all apply some styles to this grid. So let me just go back to the VS Code and let me just go back to this CSS file, that is add a new product component.css. Over here let me just apply some style to the matte grid tile. So let me just apply some styles to my matte grid tile, and what I will apply is I will just apply a border, and that border will be a 1 pixel and solid, and then maybe we will just apply some gray shade. So let me just give like yes, I think this looks fine. So let me just save this code now and let's see what happens on the UI. Now let me just choose the file again, and yes, now we are able to see this light border around our image preview. Yes, and it is looking perfectly fine. So now we have to give a remove button as well. So let's see how we can give that remove button as well. So let me just go back to the HTML file, and over here let me just, yeah, so above this image let me just add one span. So let me just add one span, and inside this we will just give it as a X. So we will just give a capital X, and or maybe we can just give a small x, that will be a fine. So that small x is nothing but basically a close button or remove button we can say. Maybe if you want you can just give a icon as well, but as of now I think X will work, so that's the reason I am just using a X. So again we have to give some click event as well, and we have to apply some style as well, because as of now if you just see like onto the browser. So let me just go back to the browser. Yeah, let me just open a browser, and if you just choose a file, so if you see like this button is not looking quite good, and this is not perfectly aligned. So we have to apply some styles as well. So let me just quickly apply some styles, and let me just go and let me just give a class is equals to maybe like a button btn dot remove btn dash remove dash image like this, and we have to create this class into our CSS file. So let me just copy this class name, and let me just go to the CSS file again, and let me just give it as dot button dash remove dash image. Inside this I'm just going to apply few styles, so you can just write it down as it is, and maybe explaining each and every style might not be possible, but whichever important I will find, I will just explain you those important styles. So first of all what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to apply a position which will be a absolute. After that what we have to do is we have to apply a cursor as well, and cursor will be a pointer cursor like this. Then what we have to do is we have to apply some again some scales as well. So let me just give it as a -10 pixel. So why -10 and everything, maybe we can, instead of explaining here, we can just take a look to the look directly on the UI. So from right hand side as well, we have to apply some scale, which will be a -10 pixel again. Background color, I'm just going to apply it as a red, so it will be a red because we are going to perform a delete action, that's the reason. And the text color, I'm just going to apply it as a white, so let me just apply it as a white. And then there should be some border radius. I just want to make it a circular, so that's the reason border radius will be a 50%, like this. And again we have to apply some width, so let me just apply width of 20 pixel, and height I will just keep it as a auto, so let me just use it as a auto. And then we will just apply some text align, that is a center, right? So these are the styles that we have to apply. Now you might be thinking like how I am just typing these styles as it is. So the reason is previously I just practiced this, and that's the reason I know these kind of styles that I have to apply, and that's the reason I can just type it in this way. So it might be not possible for very first way, but we have to just change some values, and we have to just give some hit and tries, and then maybe at the end we will come to some solution. So I have already tried this in one of my other projects, so that's the reason I'm just using those styles as it is. Now let me save all the changes and let me just go back to the Google Chrome. Let me just try to choose any file. Let's see what happens. So now if you see, we are able to see this button, and if you just hover on this button, then you will see the change into a cursor. So if you see, like the cursor is getting changed. Now let me just choose some other file as well. Yes, it is looking perfectly fine. Let me choose one more file. Yes, again it is looking perfectly fine. I just want to choose more than 4 files. I just want to see what happens. Yes, now it is looking perfectly fine. But now whenever you are clicking on this X button, nothing is happening. So we want to make this we want to remove this particular image by clicking on the X button. So for this also we have to write some code. So that code will be a very simple code. So let me just go back to the VS Code and let me just go to the HTML. So whenever we will click on this span, so what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to call one method, or maybe we can say it as a function. So we have to give a click event is equals to, and then it will be a remove image, like this. And this remove image will basically take one parameter, which is nothing but a index. So we have to give the index of the file on which we are clicking the button. So again it is pretty simple with the Angular. So we have to just give let I is equals to index inside our ng for, and then whichever I it will like on whichever index we will click on this image, it will automatically pick and it will keep it inside this I variable. So we whatever value of I variable is there, we have to just pass it as it is. Now we haven't created this function, so let me just copy this function name and let me just go to the TS file, and over here let me just add this function. So after this on file select, I will add the function like this. And now we will get the index over here. So whatever index we will get, that index image we have to remove. So again this is pretty simple. We have to just use this dot product images dot splice. So splice is nothing but a function which is provided by TypeScript, and it is basically works on a array. So it will basically remove whichever index that we will give, that particular index value it will remove. Again it is not that much straightforward, but to just simplify, I'm just going to explain. I'm just explaining in this way, but it is again it is not like that. So yeah, so now whatever index we will receive, we will just remove that particular index from our images. Now let me just save this code. Let me just see what happens on the UI. So let me just choose a file and let me just choose one more file. Let's see. So yes, now let me just remove this very first file, and if you just click, it will remove let me just click on this again. Yes, again this image will get removed. Now you can again choose any other image. So let me just choose this particular image. Let me just choose one more, and let me just try to remove the image, this middle image. Let me just try to remove this image, and yes, it is working perfectly fine. Now let me just do one thing. Let me just try to apply some product. So let me just make it as, let's suppose, iPhone 10. Description will be an expensive iPhone. This product's actual price will be, let's suppose, $10,000 or something like that, and discounted price will be a 9,500, and we have already used images. So let me click on the add product. Now if I just go to the DB, so let me just go to the MySQL. Let's see whether this is actually stored or not. So let me just select the product. Now if you see, like, we have the product ID 5, and we have added iPhone 10 and an expensive iPhone. So we have the product ID 5. Let me just go to the image model. So yes, we have some images, but again, if we just want to see all the images for product ID 5, then we can just go to this product underscore image table. And if you see, for the product ID 5, we have two different images, that is image ID 6 and image 7. So for the product ID 5, the two images got uploaded, those which we have selected over here, right? So I think we have done every single thing. As of now, if you just observe, like, we haven't like, our form is getting reset once we click on the add product, but these images are not getting reset. So we were going to take care of these resetting the images and everything in upcoming sessions. So in the next session, what we are going to do is we are going to implement one drag and drop area as well, so that a user can drag and drop the images, or user can choose the images as well. So we are going to make it more beautiful. We are going to give the drag and drop area so that a user can directly drag and drop all the images, and alongside we are going to show obviously this preview as well, and there will be this choose file button as well. So we are going to implement this particular functionality in the next session. So I tried my best to explain every single thing in this session. If you still have any questions, let me know into a comment section, and I will try my best to help you out in that case. And I hope you enjoyed this session. I'll see you in the next session.